Take a look at this live look at the stock of the parent company of Trump's Truth Social business. Since Donald Trump's felony convictions in New York 3 weeks ago, Truth Social, its parent company, have lost roughly half its value. Trump media stock prices have been rapidly dropping since May, dealing a huge blow to the former president's net worth. CNN reporter Matt Egan is joining us right now. Matt, Truth Social is hurting right now big time. What is happening?
Well, this is a stock that is basically in free fall mode right now. Trump Media was trading above $50 as recently as May 30th. Of course, that's the day that Donald Trump was convicted here in New York, and within seconds of that conviction, we saw the stock price plunge, and it's just snowballed since then. This company has now lost over half of its value in just 3 weeks. It's staggering losses. The spark for this week's sell-off was the fact that regulators gave a green light to investors who own what's known as warrants to buy extra stock in this company. It's a move that could allow Trump Media to raise extra money, but it's also going to water down existing shareholders, and that has spooked some investors. I don't want to assign too much logic here, though, to the stock moves, because remember, experts have said that Trump Media is basically a meme stock. It is trading on hype and momentum, not fundamentals. It's valued in the billions of dollars, even though it generates very little revenue. Now, no matter the cause, this sell-off has wiped out a huge chunk of the value of the stock of the company's chairman and leading shareholder, Donald Trump. This stake was worth about $6 billion as recently as 3 weeks ago. Now it's down to around $3 billion. And the selling may not be done. I spoke to Jay Ritter. He's a finance professor at the University of Florida. He's been studying capital markets for 40 years. And he said, despite this sell-off, this stock is still, quote, wildly overpriced. Remember, its main product is the conservative social network, Truth Social. It's a very tiny player in social media. It is dwarfed in terms of the number of users by its rivals, including Reddit, Elon Musk's X, and even Instagram's Threads. And Trump Media, it generated less than $800,000 in revenue in the first quarter. That is very tiny. Normally, a company with that kind of revenue is valued in the millions of dollars, not the billions. Wolf?
Interesting. Matt Egan reporting for us. Matt, thank you very much.
This all comes, of course, as there's been a massive fundraising haul, really on both sides, but even more so from Trump in the aftermath of his conviction. He is now dwarfing Biden. Remember, for months, Trump has been struggling to keep up with Biden's fundraising machine. It's now a bit of the other way around. In May, the fundraising haul, $141 million for Trump compared to $85 million for Biden. So, MJ, is the Biden campaign, are they concerned at all about the surge in Trump fundraising?
I mean, they certainly don't want to be lagging behind Trump ever. I do think that there was a sense of expectation that once the Trump trial was over in New York, that, yeah, it was very much possible that momentum would pick up for them in terms of their hauls. But I do think what the Biden team would argue at this point is that, yes, like we are working, as hard as possible to raise as much money as we can. We don't want Trump to catch up. But the one way in which the Trump team cannot catch up is getting time back, time that was wasted or was diverted to focusing on the president, the former president, being in a courtroom for weeks and weeks, when at the same time, the Biden team was really trying to lay the grounds, the foundation for having a traditional campaign in place to really hit the ground running in the general election. I think they would argue that that is something that the Trump team can't compete with.
It's interesting because part of this big fundraising haul came from billionaires. In fact, 19 million, Michael Bloomberg, the former New York City mayor, to helping out Joe Biden's campaign, to the Biden Victory Fund, and to Tim Mellon, who's a reclusive billionaire and heir to a banking fortune, $50 million to a pro-Trump super PAC. This has been a shift. You've seen these billionaires, even more so, open up their wallets to Trump recently.
It took them a while in 2016. Here they're getting there sooner, and the key moment seems to have been the conviction. because we saw a huge influx of both individual donors and also some of these billionaires coming off the sideline. Also, the widow of Sheldon Adelson as well, talking about putting a lot of money in. Look, each side has their billionaires. The question here we need to ask is, what are the agendas and interests of those billionaires? And a lot of the billionaires supporting Trump are some of these hedge fund magnates, oil and gas magnates, and with Biden, it's Mike Bloomberg, it's Melinda Gates Foundation. The key is, how are they going to spend that money? Because to MJ's point, Biden has already had months that you cannot replace of creating all of these grassroots offices across the country, when we all know that advertising dollars are worth less and less in this fragmented environment. So even if the Trump campaign pours a lot of this into advertising, it's hard to say that this gives him a big advantage or even brings them to parity because of all of the investment that's been made already by the Biden campaign.
How much of the Trump campaign relying on billionaires? I just want you to look at this graphic on your screen. Billionaires backing Trump. This is all from someone who's at $47 billion in net worth, as Jeff Yass, all the way down to John Paulson with a paltry $6 billion there. I'm being sarcastic if you couldn't tell, but significant amounts of money. These are the people backing Donald Trump. So, I mean, he obviously is going to be well-funded heading to this campaign. What are you hearing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely shows the transactional nature in which Trump approaches fundraising. He's made lots of promises to billionaires in these private meetings, saying, for example, that he's going to roll back Biden's environmental regulations. And I think what we're seeing is some of these billionaires backed away from Trump shortly after the 2020 election and spoke out against his efforts to overturn the election results. But I think we're seeing, obviously, a shift here. And that's in large part, I think, because of their own agendas and the hopes for the 2025 to see the tax cuts reenacted at the end of 2025.
That's what you hear oftentimes. It's someone will put aside their personal differences. We'll talk about the policy, and for some of these billionaires, it has to do with tax cuts.